everybody, and welcome back to another tutorial here at Artemis Hobbyhorses, where today I'll be teaching you how to make this ALMERIA bridle. And as you know, all of these bridle patterns are actually available to buy both on my website and also in my Etsy store. But what you probably didn't know is that one of you guys actually had the chance to be featured on my channel and win a free bridle pattern every single week. More info on that in the description below. Alright, that's enough talking for now, let's get crafting. Alright, so here is a list of the materials that you'll be needing for this project. And if you have purchased the pattern, you can go ahead and print that out. Remember to not print it in color and then click the fill entire page. The pattern comes in 3 sizes to make it easy for you to kind of, choose a size that fits your horse. I'm gonna go with the medium one. And when you've chosen, you can start to cut the pattern out. Now let's sort these pieces into 3 different groups. We first have these long straps, which we'll be cutting out from our ready-made leather strap. Now, if you haven't made a leather strap yet, I highly recommend you check out this preparations video. Then we have these parts that has the word padding on them, and these we'll be cutting out of white fake leather today. And the rest of the parts we'll cut out from this red fake leather. And this is actually what we'll start with, so you can grab your leather, and as you can see, it has those straps there on the left side, which I also did cover in the preparations video. But go ahead and grab your templates and then trace them onto the leather. Next, you can grab some pins and put them kind of around the shape, which will help to keep the 2 pieces of leather together when we cut this whole kind of part out. This will make it a lot easier to handle on the sewing machine. So now it's time to start sewing. So when I sew, I actually go just on the inside of the outline that we made earlier, so I'm not on the line directly. And when you've sewed all the way around, it's time to cut the parts out. And this time I follow the outline I made earlier. So these are the 2 pieces I ended up with. I have the neck piece here and also the noseband top little plus. So let's now work on finishing the neck piece. So as you can see, there were markings for holes there. So I'm gonna grab my hole puncher and then make holes as indicated on the pattern. It should look something like this when it's finished. Now let's move on and make the padding for this neck piece. And you can also make the noseband padding while you're going. So once again, we'll be making this padding out of our white fake leather. So you can go ahead and cut out a little piece of leather that you know that your padding will fit on top of, and then you can turn the pieces inside out so you have like the ugly side facing up. Then go ahead and trace around your pattern and put some pins in to keep them in place. Now we're gonna start sewing here, and then we're gonna go all the way around and stop here so that we leave this part open so we can turn the piece inside out later. So now you can go ahead and sew on the outline. And once you've finished, you can go ahead and cut off the excess and then try your best to turn this piece inside out. I know it may seem impossible at first, but it works. And use the scissors, use like another small object to help you kind of poke out all of those corners. So go ahead now and put the top piece of the neck piece on top of the padding. And now we're actually gonna put these 2 parts together by following in the seam of that top neck piece. So you're just gonna go back to the sewing machine and then carefully follow in that same seam to kind of, sew these 2 pieces together. Now this seems hard, but it's actually not that bad. And when it's finished, you should have a seamless looking part like that. Let's now move on to the noseband padding. So just as before, cut out a little piece of white leather and turn it inside out and trace around the part. And instead of sewing this piece right now, you can actually go ahead and grab that red, like the noseband top, like the little plus, and then put it on top of the padding. And now we're gonna go ahead and sew all the way around, because then we'll actually kind of hit 2 birds with 1 stone and attach the top piece to the padding piece as we're going. So take this process slow as well and make sure you get that really nice symmetrical looking circle. And when you've gone all around, you can go ahead and grab your scissors and cut this piece out. It should look something like this when finished. Let's now grab the test subject of the day, which is Calippo, and we'll pin the neck piece as well as the noseband top piece to him right here. Now it's time to start working on the cheek pieces. So we'll start with a cheek piece bit. So you'll need to grab your simple bit here that I also made in the preparations video, and then we'll make this strap that goes from here to here. So you'll now grab one of your strap templates here called the Cheekpiece bit, and you can go ahead and measure that out on your horse before you go. The strap is supposed to come through the bit here and then go through a buckle there, closest to the bit, and also then attach to the neck piece. It was a bit short for me, so I'll make this strap a bit longer. So grab your leather strap and then cut your strap to length. So when we take a look at the template again, we see that it has 2 markings here for buckles. So we'll start by making this first buckle, which will attach to the neck piece. And when you sew a buckle into place, you just simply fold a little leather on top of itself and then create a seam right there at the end of the buckle. Be careful though so you don't sew into the metal part, because then your sewing machine needle will break. Now we have the first buckle in place. Let's now create the second buckle here at the other end of the strap. So punch a little hole and then thread your buckle onto the strap. When you have that in place, you can now punch some more holes going down the strap there. So this part will actually kind of wrap around the bit like this and then fold back onto itself and go through that same buckle again. So I was testing the length here and I think it's a bit long, but this is an easy fix because you can actually just create more holes kind of going towards the other end of the buckle and then reattach it. And I'm gonna be showing it here like as a close-up. So this is what the strap looks like. You'll grab the end of the strap here and pull it through the ring and then fold it back on top of itself and then lead it back through that same buckle and then adjust it to whatever length that fits your horse. Let's now put it back on Calippo and it fits like a charm. Beautiful. So let's now move on and work with the noseband, right? And this is a very characteristic noseband. It's also called a figure 8 because it kind of goes, you know, from the ring there and then comes around the nose and forms an 8. So we're now going to work with these 2 rings and also the 2 pattern pieces called noseband buckle and noseband holes. So I start by measuring out using the paper template. So you want to start there from underneath the cheek piece and go through the noseband top and then come around and under. I'm cutting my pieces a bit longer to have a little bit extra margin to work with. Here you can clearly see that it's a bit too short. You want it to kind of come under the chin like that. So on the noseband holes, we have to cut some holes, obviously, for the buckle to be able to connect. And on the buckle part, we need a buckle right there. So I'm just creating a hole and sewing the buckle into place. Should look like this when it's finished. Now on the other end of the straps, we're actually going to attach these rings. So you just pull the strap through the ring, fold it back onto itself and sew it into place. Now we need to pull the straps through the noseband top. So the noseband top piece is kind of what's going to be holding these noseband straps in place. So you just go and pull both of them through diagonally. Should look something like this. So you have the noseband, kind of the holes in the buckle on one side and then the rings on the other side. Let's now go ahead and try it on Calippo. So you want the rings to be underneath the cheek piece right here and the noseband top obviously on top of the nose, and then you can connect the buckle and the holes on underneath the chin. Let's now make the cheek piece that will connect the noseband to the neck piece. So for this you need the cheek piece template. First of all, test the length using the paper template and then cut your strap to that desired length. Go ahead and attach some buckles at one end and then go ahead and sew the other end onto the ring that you just created there in the noseband. As you can see, that was a little bit long, so I made it a bit shorter before I attached it to the ring. I am using the sewing machine to kind of attach all the straps in this video, but you can also use hot glue. So now let's go ahead and attach that little cheek piece to the neck piece. Next, we'll make the straps that go underneath the chin and which will also be attached to the ring there at the noseband. So you need under chin and under chin buckle. As usual, go ahead and test the length using the paper template and then cut your straps to that desired length. Punch some holes in the under the chin part, and the under the chin buckle part obviously needs a buckle. The pieces should look like that when they're finished. Now pay attention here, when you attach the chin parts, you actually want to do it in between the noseband and the cheek piece, so like right on the bottom there. So just make sure, because otherwise you'll have to redo it. And once you have fastened them with a sewing machine, the piece should now look something like this. We can go ahead now and reattach this to Calippo. This is what your bridle should look like now, and we're almost ready. The last thing we have to do is to attach the brow band. So there's a template for this too, and you can go ahead and test this paper template on your horse before you actually go ahead and cut it out. As you can see, when I measure, I actually go from in underneath first, the neck piece, and then I fold it back over. So I always give my brow band a little bit of extra margin when I cut out my leather strap. So you can trim the edges there and then put the brow band back on the horse. And I'm now using my hole puncher to punch a little hole right there. And the reason I'm doing this is because I'm actually gonna keep this brow band in place with these little metal hats. Now you can also sew your brow band into place, you know, but by doing it this way, it's actually really easy to remove the brow band later and change it out for another one if you want. And I have to say, I am pretty happy with this outcome. What you don't know is that this leather was like brutally hard to sew, and I had to remake this neck piece like 3 times because the leather was so sticky, so the parts kept twisting, you know? Actually, here, let me show you. So, if you're wondering, I just picked this up from my trash. Do you see that? It was horrible. Now, if you guys want, I could make a tutorial on how to fix this, maybe some other time. If you want, leave a comment. Anyway, I hope you guys had a fun time crafting this bridle, because I definitely did. So thanks for watching, and see you again in a future tutorial. Happy hobby horsing!